Greetings. It's good to see all of you here. The last 2 weeks, we have learned that our Father is the Father who sees in secret. And we have learned that how we are to give, how we are to serve, how we are to pray, and how we are to fast in secret. Now, after Jesus teaching us that, he had now begun to teach how God's children are to live in this world. He first explained two kinds of treasures, two kinds of eyes, and then two kinds of masters. And that's what we'll be looking at today, the two options we are to choose from. And then next week, we will learn how we are to make the right choice, why we can make the right choice without worrying, and that will be next week. So first, let's go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 to verse 21. I don't think we have this on the screen. Okay, then let's, the passage is printed on the first page of your outline. So look at the first page together. We will look from Matthew chapter 6, 19 to 21. So after teaching us that our Father is the Father who sees in secret, now Jesus is changing the topic to how, as God's children, we are to live in this world. Verse 19. He says, "Don't store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where the thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So according to Jesus, there are two kinds of treasures. One is the treasures on earth. And the characteristic of this treasure is the moth and rust will destroy, and thieves will break in and steal it. So that's one kind of treasure. So in other words, this is the kind of treasure that will not last. You will eventually lose it. But then he said there's another kind of treasure, the treasures in heaven. And the characteristic of this treasure is that this is neither moth nor rust can destroy, and thieves cannot break in and steal. This is the kind of treasure that will last through eternity. Now, the treasure Jesus is talking about, and I have put that on the bottom of page 1 of your outline. The treasure here describes the things we live for. That's our treasure. Whatever we are living for. The things we seek total satisfaction from in life. Whatever that's what gives you satisfaction, that's your treasure. Whatever we pursue throughout our life, that's our treasure. And according to Jesus, some of us live for the treasures on earth. We seek total satisfaction in life from the things that belong to this world. The things that only belongs to this world. And in Jesus' time, these were mainly clothes, crops, and money. And this is why he said these will be destroyed by moth, rust, and thieves. But in our days, there are more different kinds of treasures, right? There are many things we live for. For some, it's house. For some of us, our treasure is our family, our husband, wife, our children, our position, our status, our work, our hobby. For some of you, that's your treasure. Sports or art. Anything that belongs only to this world, and that's what we find total satisfaction. That's what we live for. That's our treasure. And Jesus says, don't live for this kind of treasure. Because sooner or later, you will lose it. They will not last. He says, as children of God, we are to live for treasures in heaven. Now, Jesus says we are to live for treasures in heaven, and these are the things that moth and rust and also thieves will not take away. But, you know, if you look at carefully, you'll notice that he doesn't tell us exactly what this treasure is. But one thing we do know is that this is the kind of thing that will last through eternity, right? This is a treasure that we need to be looking for, the things that will last through eternity. And if you will continue to read on this passage, actually you will begin to see the comparison between treasures on earth and treasures in heaven. It's the same as the comparison between, or equivalent to, serving money and serving God. And it's also equivalent to worrying about the things of this world versus seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. So what Jesus really is saying about our treasure in heaven, we can conclude that he's talking about seeking his righteousness. It's about seeking to have the character of the Father. And the character of the Father is what we also call the glory of God. So in essence, it's to seek to show the glory of God. Now, by extension, this may also include helping others conform to the character of the Father through evangelism and also through discipleship. For these are the things that will last through eternity. These are the treasures in heaven. So the question we need to ask ourselves, and I want us to think carefully today, because this is something we often do not really think about. What is your treasure? What is our treasure? Do you live to show? Is that the number one purpose? Do you live to show the character of the Father, the glory of God? Is that your number one goal of your life? Or do we live for something that actually belongs to this world, and this world only? Now on page 2, let's look at page 2 of your outline. I have put some questions so that we can have a self-examination of what could be my treasure or your treasure in your life. These are questions that will help us think and examine our own life. What is a treasure in my life? Number 1, okay, let's look at this together. It says, what occupies our thoughts when we have nothing else to do? What do you think about when you got nothing to do? What occupies your thoughts? Is it your investment? Is it your position? Your home? Your clothes? Or is it about your struggle to love more, to forgive more? What occupies your minds when you have nothing else to do? Number 2, This is a very revealing one, by the way. What are the things that we measure others by? Okay. Do we measure them by their education? By their homes? By their athletic ability, achievements? By their success in the business world? Or do we measure others by their godly character? What do we measure others by? What is important to you? Number 3. What is it that we cannot be happy without? What are the things you believe that this is what you need to have in order to be happy? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Or is it the work of God in your life? What is it? It's a thing that you need to have in order to have a happy life. I hope you all have some idea about yourself. So what is your treasure? Jesus says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. See, our heart, according to Jesus, it's captured either by earthly treasure or heavenly treasure. Either one of them owns our heart. And he continues in Matthew chapter 6, verse 22 to verse 23. Let's see, I can get this working this time. Is it off? Okay. So you can turn to page 3 of your outline. We will look at verse 22 and verse 23. Now, before we read this, notice now Jesus substituted the word. He says, whatever where our treasure is, our heart will be also. Now he substituted the word with the word I. I. Because whatever captures our heart, that is where our eyes will be fixed upon. Okay? So as we understand that the eye is really talking about the window of our heart. Let's look at verse 22 and verse 23. He continues. He says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Okay? If your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? Now here Jesus gave us 2 visual pictures. He compared each one of us to a house. Okay, just imagine you are a house, okay? Each person is a house with no walls. So you're a house, I'm a house, okay? Just picture a house with no walls, no windows. You have to have walls, okay? With walls, but no windows. And he says, in each house, this house with no walls, there is a lamp. And the lamp is the eye of the person. The eye is what reflects, what captures our heart. And it says, when the eye is healthy, that is when our life is all about showing the character of the Father. When your life is about, your goal is about the glory of God. He said the whole house, the whole body, your whole life will be full of light. If that is who you are, it says it's going to be so bright. It will shine so bright that the light will almost leak through the walls, penetrate. It will actually shine through the seams in the wall, and it will be so bright. In other words, our whole life, if our eye is healthy, our whole life will be about the glory of God, the character of God. Every area of our life, in the house, that's us, every place will be about the character of the Father. It will be about the glory of God. At every single place. And the glory will be so strong in us. The glory of God, the character of God will be so strong in us, so powerful, so full that even people from outside, they can actually see. When they see, they will see a lighthouse. The glory of God coming out, you will become the light of the world. But, Jesus says, but if our eye is bad, if our life is really about the treasures of this world, could be about living for money, status, work, anything that this world offers. It says, if that is what our life is about, that lamp in our house, in your house, will have absolutely no light. And our whole body, our whole life will be full of darkness. Every area of our life is going to be dark. What we think, what we desire, what we do, it's going to be all darkness, he says. People cannot see the character of God, the glory of God, the work of God in your life. It will be full of darkness, depending on the lamp, which is your eye, which shows what's in your heart. See, whether our life goal, it's about the character of God and the glory of God, or it's about the status, money, or the things, the treasures of this world, it would affect every thought, every desire, and every action of our life. It will affect our entire being. Let me give you an example. Let's say I'm working in a company. And I work so hard and something really good happened. Okay? And if someone took the credit of my hard work, and instead of me, he received the promotion. If my number one goal, okay, if my eye is healthy, if my number one goal in my life is to show the character of God, if what I desire the most is the glory of God in and through my life, I will be thinking, how can I respond in this situation? so that through my response, people can see the character of God. They can see the gentleness, the humility, and the love of God in me. Why would I want that? Because that is my goal. Because that's what matters to me the most. That's why I'm living for. That's what I desire more than anything else. That's why I'm actually working in the company, so that people can see the glory of God. Now, what if I sense some bitterness in me? Because I know that should be mine. Most likely I will. And when that happens, I will go to the Father. I'll go to God and say, God, help me. And pray and surrender the bitterness. And when I do that, the lamp will shine even brighter upon me. And there will be more glory, more character of God in me. It becomes brighter and brighter. But, okay, if the number one goal of my life is to have a better income, a better status, and all my life, I have been working hard for that. I mean, since childhood, I work hard, I study hard, so that one day I can have good status and good income. And I work so hard to get to this point, and this work that works so well that what's going to be my biggest breakthrough. And if that is the case, it will be a totally different story, right? When this person took everything, my whole life, I will be thinking, how can I respond in a way that I can take that back? I can secure my credit and my promotion. Because that is my life. That is my goal. This is what I've been doing all along. And I may criticize this offender. I might defend myself or promote myself. I might complain to my boss. And during that process, I probably will become angry, resentful, worried, jealous, and depressed. And one thing I will likely not become is become more humble and gentle and loving in the company. Because that's not what I'm there for. I'm not going to shine brighter because of that. And this is what Jesus is saying. If the light within you is darkness, how deep is the darkness? How deep is the darkness? And then Jesus begins to explain why this is the case. Why our treasure will dictate our whole being, the whole outlook of our lives. He continues. Let's look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. This is on the bottom of page 3. He continues. He says, this is why. This is why it's so crucial to have treasures in heaven but not treasures on earth. Verse 24. This is because no one can serve two masters. Since either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money, he says. Actually, the word serve that Jesus used there actually means to be a slave to. That's what the word is. You cannot be a slave to two masters. And the word money, actually, the original Greek word there is the word mammon, meaning it's actually we have a broader meaning. It means all material possessions, wealth, and money. Mammon. You cannot serve both God and mammon, all material possessions. So Jesus explained why it's so important to make sure that we know what our treasure is. Make sure that our eye is healthy, that our lamp has light. He says the reason is because no one can serve two masters. In fact, to be more precise, what he meant was no slave can be owned by two slave owners. No slave can be owned by two slave owners. That's what he meant. See, in our modern society, we can easily work for two employers. Okay? Half of the week we work for this person, the other half we work for this person. We can do that. But that's not the case with the ancient slaves, ancient slavery. A slave cannot be the property of two masters. That's the point of this example. Because by definition, a slave owner has full ownership of the slave. Every second of his life belongs to his master. His whole life, everything he does belongs to his master. He will have nothing else, no time, no energy for any other person. Everything goes to the master. The master will own him completely. And according to Jesus, our pursuit of our life goals, our treasures, is exactly like the ancient slavery. It will have complete ownership of us. Whatever you pursue as your treasure will be your slave owner, will own you all your life, everything. You see, this is why. Watch out. And this is why when our treasure is the character of God and the glory of God, that is going to take up all our time and all our energies. Wherever we are, whatever we do, we will be striving to serve Him, striving to respond, to show His character and His glory. Amen. Because no one can have two masters. We will either love one and hate the other, or devoted to one and despise the other. Whatever who is not our master will be pushed away to the side and will be out of our life. I remember a few years ago, a sister in Christ shared this with me. She told me that she used to own a bar, a pub I'm not quite sure the difference between bar and pub, but she was a bar owner. That was her business. That's how she made money. That's how she had her livelihood. But she told me this. As she came to know Jesus, and the more she walked closely with Jesus, she began to feel that her business does not honor God. And because she wanted her life to be about honoring God, she told me that she decided to close down her bar. And she did. She then took a low-wage job instead. When you are about pursuing the character of God and the glory of God, nothing can stop you. If that's who you are, if your life is about the glory of God, if that's why you care more than anything else, whether you are working at a company, whether you are a student at a school or you're a housewife working at home, you know you are there for His glory. You are there to serve God. No other reason. You know that your life, your work, what you do, it's about the glory of God. And in you, that lamp will keep shining. Whatever you are doing, it is going to shine. And it will continue to be bright. It will be brighter and brighter and brighter each day. Amen. No one, nothing can stop you from shining the light. Because that is who you are. That's what you live for. Because you are a child of God. You belong to Him. And your life is about Him. On the other hand, if our treasure is the thing of this world, material possessions, money, status, whatever this world will offer, that's what we will be living for. That's where we will pour our time, our energy into it. And that's what our life is going to be about. You will have complete ownership over us. We will have no time to seek God's glory and His character. We will find less and less time to spend with God, reading the Bible, morning quiet time. We'll find there's less and less time for that. There will be less time to even be part of a small group. We will find it more difficult to come to church worship every week. We will have less time to invest and build a godly family. We will have less time to engage ourselves in ministry. And we'll have less time for missions. Because our treasure will push everything to the side. And Jesus says, He will. And we better believe Him. And this is why Jesus says, don't live for the treasures on earth. Don't do that, children of God. There are better treasures for you that will last through eternity. Why put that to the side? So that brings us back to the question, what is your treasure? Jesus died for us so that we no longer need to live as the slave of the things of this world. Instead, we can now live as children of God. Amen. Growing into the image of the Father each day. From glory to glory. We are freed. If you are serving the things of the world today, remember, Jesus died for your sin of serving the things in the world, so that you can be freed. You can be freed from the things, the slavery of the things of this world, by accepting Jesus as your Lord, as your Savior. And let His light shine in you as a child of God. Do that. Your life will now be full of light. The truth, the character, the glory of God can be shown to the world through you. Do that. Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for the sobering reminder that although we are in the world, but we are not of the world. We don't belong here. We belong to you. We're yours. Our faith is not in the things of this world, but our faith is in you. And we know the joy that we have comes not from the things of this world, but from you. Lord God, we pray that you will help us to have this lamp in us shining always, so that we and our life can be full of light. It will be so bright that people can even see the light from a distance. People can see the glory of our Father when they see the way we live. And Lord, we now bring to you our tithes and offering. We thank you. You are so good. You are so faithful. In the name of Jesus we pray.